G'day, I'm Kwackajack, and this is a Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE, the big one. And honestly, it's got me a bit confused because on the one hand, there is a lot to love. The styling, the engine, the comfort, the ride, it's all great. But on the other, I'm trying to work out who would I recommend it to and who would I say this bike is actually for. As of right now, I haven't worked that out, but we're about to take it out into the hills of Brisbane to hopefully get an answer.
Baby. Alrighty guys, welcome back. Today you join me on a hot and muggy day here in Brisbane, and we're on a 2022 Triumph Scrambler 1200. We're on the top spec model. This is the Goldline trim. And this particular one was actually the demonstrator for local brand Kelpie, so it's fully decked out with a lot of their gear, and I am very keen to give it a go. In terms of what we're working with here, it's got a 1200cc parallel twin that you can also find in the Bonneville. It has sort of been tweaked a little bit here for the Scrambler line. So here it produces around 89 horsepower and 110 newton meters of torque, and let me tell you, that torque is immediately noticeable. It is a punchy thing. It is guttural. With this pipe on it, it sounds mean. Now, like I normally do, I've ridden it out here through Brisbane City to see how it fares there, and it's a really interesting experience, this motorcycle. And I'm trying to sort of piece together who it's for and why it exists. Because really, to me, this feels like a dual sport or an adventure bike wrapped in a really good-looking retro package. The first thing you notice here, as soon as you step up to it and get on, is the size. This bike is mammoth, both in proportions and just how it feels. In terms of the seat, it's the highest one I've ever been on. 870 millimeters on this top spec model, and even in adventure bike land, that is tall. You've also got the long travel suspension. I believe it's 47 millimeters with 250 of travel both front and back. Again, that's adventure bike territory. Oh yeah. So you're sitting up tall and you're riding high. The other thing you notice is the ergonomics, right? I am quite a fan of the seating position here. It is very upright, but these handlebars are very wide and almost sort of stretched out. You're reaching forward and you're leaning into that Scrambler territory so you can stand up for when you go off-road. I'm 6 foot and it is a great bike to stand up on. Oh, that is an orchestra behind me. Now, I said this was Kelpie's old demo, so the seat is their own, and it is very, very comfortable. The ride out here has been fantastic so far. We get to a rougher part of the road up ahead, so we'll see how it fares there, but with these big chunky tires, the long suspension, and this plush seat, it's very comfortable. But I'll be honest, I'm not used to riding up this high on a motorcycle. I've been on tall bikes before, you know, but this one kind of feels like I'm on stilts. In terms of weight, well, they've actually done a pretty good job there as well. Fully fueled, wet on the road like we are now. I've just filled up. We're sitting at about 230 kilos. Considering the size of the engine, the size of the bike, and all of the fluids that would be in there, I'm pretty happy with that. Again, when you first sit on it, it does feel big and it does feel a little bit heavy, but right now, I'm not thinking about the weight at all. So while I'm not thinking about the weight, one thing that I am constantly aware of is my height. Let's see how it goes here in a tighter corner. So when you encounter a tighter corner like this, you feel yourself tipping over a lot more than what you would normally on a bike. Because you're up so high, you feel like you're going like this a lot more than on a smaller one where you kind of just go like this. But to be honest, so far I can't complain about how its suspension is performing. It has got really good parts on it as well, actually, both for suspension and brakes. We've got Ohlins on this top spec model, and for the brakes we've got Brembo M50s, so they're really really powerful. But I don't know if you just saw that, but when you do put on the brakes, especially the front, because of that travel, you do tend to sort of jump or dive into it a little bit. Right, so now we're going a little bit slower. What else comes with it? Well, you do get a fair few electronics. You've got cornering ABS, you've got cornering traction control, both of which can be turned off. You've got 6 rider modes with a couple of customizable ones, and I really like that you can switch them on the fly. While I do like a lot of the features that come with this bike, one that I'm actually not a huge fan of is the dash. In direct sunlight, it can be a little bit hard to read. I bumped the brightness all the way up, and it's still not as bright as I'd like it to be. Something else that I notice, and I know has been an issue on these bikes, is the heat. Now, when traveling at sort of normal speeds, it's okay, but around town, like in the city, and when I'm going slower like this, you can really feel it emanating from that right side. Now, this model is meant to be better than the older ones, which was meant to really pump it out, and I know this one does have an aftermarket pipe on it, which could be a contributing factor, but if you're going slow or around town or in traffic, you'll definitely feel the heat coming from your right hand side. But now we come to some twistier parts of the road. Let's see how she handles. Unfortunately, I don't have the opportunity to really take it off-road and give it a thorough testing in that regard, but we can still see what she's like. Man, I am glad I wore my earplugs today. Sounds like machine gun fire. I'll tell you what, she's not slow. She's got some get up and go. It feels like I'm riding a Black Hawk helicopter through these corners. I'm about as high as one would be. And it sounds like an oncoming invasion. Man, that torque is phenomenal. Now, clearly this is no sport bike, but gee, it's doing well. You can feel the sort of premium parts of the suspension doing their job. For a big heifer, she turns around okay. Ooh, yeah, immediately feel that heat coming from down there. Let's have a little breather and take a look around. Now, I think my absolute favorite part about this motorcycle is the way that it looks. I think that looks fantastic. Royal Enfield came out with their new Bear 650, and it's pretty much, well, almost a carbon copy of this, and I can see why they did that. This looks awesome. You know, I'm actually not normally a fan of gold on motorcycles. I think it can look a little bit tacky or garish, but on this, it just works. You can also see that huge 21-inch front wheel there that we get. So with the chunky tires and the big, tall overall profile, really it's designed to be able to do quite a bit of serious off-roading. See those big Brembos down there? Look at them. They stop you all right. So I myself am 6 foot, and I can swing my leg over. Oh, I cannot flat foot it though. If you were on the shorter side though, you'd probably have to be using the pegs to get on and off. All right, heading back down, and let's test a bit more of that performance, eh? Let's slow right down. Oh, it hauls. It's funny, there's not a whole lot up the top end. I mean, I guess you are only running 90 horsepower, but where the torque sits in the band is really fun and usable. You know, I'm kind of torn by this motorcycle because there's a lot of things that I really like about it. I like how comfortable it is, I like how it rides, I like the torque, the engine, I love the way it looks, but it's very clearly designed to sort of be a capable off-roader. That's why it's got that long travel suspension, chunky tires, big front end. But if they wanted it to really be an off-roader, and maybe the kind of bike that people take on longer journeys, I don't know why they've only given it a 16-litre fuel tank. Don't get me wrong, 16 litres is okay, but for a bike that's so very clearly ready and capable to go on longer trips, it's just a bit disappointing that it's not a few litres bigger. And I'm trying to think of like who would really enjoy this the most, because I use it in the city and it's fine there, but it's too tall to really be comfortable to live with unless you're bloody, I don't know, 6'4", 6'5". It's not really for people who want to commute on the highway because it's a naked and doesn't have any sort of wind protection, and it's not for people who want to do the longer off-road adventurous trips because it doesn't have the fuel capacity for it. Now again, this is the top spec XE. If you go for the XC, that is a bit shorter. I believe it's 830 or 840 millimeters in seat height, and you do lose a little bit of the tech gizmos, but I think maybe for most people that one would be better. Don't get me wrong, I really like this bike. I think it's fantastic. I love the way it looks, and the torque is so much fun to use. But if I was to choose a Triumph Scrambler from the lineup, I don't think it would be this one. I mean, clearly someone's gonna absolutely love the hell out of this thing, because there is a lot to love. All right, I think I gotta park this thing up and collate my thoughts for a final verdict.
So, after spending some time with the Scrambler 1200 XC, I think I have an idea of who it's for. I don't think it's trying to replace the Bonnevilles or the Tigers out there, but it is going for that rider who wants a bit of both worlds. And I think the rider that would really enjoy this is someone that's, well, definitely on the taller side and can handle it. I'm 6 foot and it's still big for me. It'll also have to be someone that's confident enough to get the performance out of the bike, because there is a lot on offer here, but it can be intimidating for a lot of people hopping on something of this size. It's a shame that I didn't get to test it properly off-road, because I think it looks like it's got some proper off-road chops. That being said, it's definitely not the most practical bike, and if you're looking at something like this just to ride around town with, I don't think you'll fully appreciate it. But if you do love the look, you want some real torque, and don't mind the height, it is a heck of a bike. And I think it is a bit of an oddball, but man, it's a fun one. I also want to take a second to thank our mates over at Team Moto Kawasaki in Bowen Hills. They're the guys that lent me this bike. If you're in the market for a new or used motorcycle or want to trade yours in, make sure to go in and check them out and tell them that I sent you. But that's all from me today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again soon.